So I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm drawing, I'll notice something about what I drew that becomes a sort of visual trick for me or like a cheat, shortcut kind of thing. And sometimes I have logical explanations for these air quote techniques, and sometimes I don't. And this might be one of those times. So I'm going to show you what I do first, and then I'll try my darndest to explain why I do this. So here we have a guy with no arms in a position where the arms would be raised. And it's at this point where I literally use a lowercase letter y for the armpit of these figures. So here's a letter Y. I flip it sideways and place it right up against the shoulder where I'd imagine the armpit would be. And on either side of the letter Y is where the lines for the arm are going to come out. Which also helps me place the lines for the lat too. So again, here's the letter Y. I place it where I feel like the armpit goes, and it's the same process as before, and it's actually the same process nearly every time I draw a figure where the arms are raised, and specifically when the armpit is visible. So what even is this, right? Why a letter Y, and what information does it tell you exactly? Well, here's a very simplified breakdown of the muscles that go into the armpit, and this is roughly how they'd all connect into each other. And I noticed that whenever I do studies of the armpit, that when I focused on the actual lines that I was drawing, if I zoom in right at the armpit and trace the lines that split these muscles, I get what looks like an upside down letter Y. So by representing the armpit as a letter Y, I'm actually drawing the border of 3 different muscles, which just helps me personally when thinking about how they all connect to each other in any given pose. And I'm gonna admit, it's a bit of a far-fetched thing to even notice, but I swear just something about it makes sense to me, and I don't even have anything else to say. And even when we have a more comprehensive diagram, like this one by Kanto Anatomy, who I'll have a link to in the description, if I trace the lines that split the coracobrachialis and the teres major, we get a letter Y, and same for the other side, so the jig is up. You know what I'm saying? The case has been cracked. They can't keep this from you forever, and in fact, I might be arrested, and this might be my last video, so, you know what I'm saying? It was real. But anyway, another thing is that if you extend the end of the letter Y, you also get the line that describes the bicep, which is also the line that lies between the bicep and the tricep. Another thing I like to do, and this works in the same way, is just to draw like a greater than sign, almost as if you were drawing an arrow, like the top of an arrow. And I just place that at the armpit, and it works in pretty much the exact same way as before. This point at the bottom of that arrow is where I like to connect the lats as they come down the side of the figure. And again, if we look at this diagram of the anatomy, trace those lines and we get a very similar greater than sign looking thing. And that is my weird little trick or whatever for drawing armpits. So that's going to do it for this video, and as always, I'd like to take a moment to thank my patrons over on Patreon for all of their support. It's always greatly appreciated, and I'll talk to you guys again as soon as I can.